A wise old owl sat in an oak. The more he saw, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. So let's be like that wise old bird. Now, Constantine was not a Christian, but after he saw that burning sign of Christ above the Tiber River and heard the words, "In this sign you shall conquer," he decided that the Christian God was going to help him. And so he fought under the Christian God, and in the end he won his battle, and he was able to go into Rome and become the emperor. Now, this softened his heart towards the Christians who for many, many years had been persecuted in Rome. And so he decided to sign the Edict of Milan, which gave freedom and safety for the Christian to practice their religion, just like all of the other people who practiced a variety of religions throughout the Roman Empire. And so this was a good thing for the Christians. Now, for many years in Rome, before the emperors, Rome had been a republic. And this republic had worked together in balance to give voices to the people to decide how Rome should be run. Now, at the beginning of the empire, there still was a lot of voice for the people. They were able to become senators and vote and talk with the emperor, but over time, many of the emperors started to disband the Senate, and sometimes they didn't use the Senate at all and became that one ruling figure over all of the Roman Empire. Occasionally, when somebody decided it was such a big place to run, they would split it in half and have two emperors. But in the end, they really didn't have a lot of voice from the people of Rome, telling them what would be good for Rome. And this really became an imbalance in the entire empire. Now, many of these emperors, after a while, were really just from the military. It wasn't anybody who could try to be the emperor. And there was a lot of emperors that were overthrown after 3 or 2 or maybe even only 1 year. So there was a lot of upheaval, not very much consistency in the Roman Empire. Now, because of this, there was a lot of turmoil in all of the spending that was happening. And so since there was not a lot of money in Rome because emperor after emperor was not spending wisely, the people were being taxed more and more. And this was putting a lot of strain on the everyday Roman. Now, since they were not conquering anymore, they also were not gaining riches from new places. So they really did have to just take from the Roman people and all of the people that had been conquered previously. And so this started to put a huge strain on some of the poorer people, the people that were just making ends meet as it was. A lot of these people were country folk, people that had worked small farms, and in the end, they could not support themselves. They couldn't pay their taxes. And so what would happen is a rich person would come and say, well, we will buy your farm, and you can work the farm, and you can stay on the land, but you will have to give us things as well. So these farmers didn't own their land anymore, and they became something called coloni. And these were people that had to work their farm, yet most of their profits went to their landowners. And truthfully, now they were a piece of property, part of the farm itself. So if the rich landowner would sell that farm to somebody else, they would be sold along with it. So while not necessarily slaves, because they still were getting paid, they definitely were not in a good situation. Now, some people decided that they didn't want this life at all, and so they just abandoned their farms and they go into the city and try to find work there. But truthfully, many people were suffering even in the city. There was very high taxes there as well, and so there wasn't a lot of extra money to hire other people. So just because they went to the city did not mean that there was a job for them to have. The people of Rome were suffering, and Rome was really in decline. Now, during this time, this was when Constantine, like towards the end of this time, is when Constantine took over, and he saw this. He could see that Rome was declining, that its spirit of loyalty and bravery and being together and acceptance was definitely getting low. And so Rome was not in a good place when Constantine took over. So he decided that maybe there was a way for him to save Rome, to bring it back up to the glory that it once had. And he decided to do that by moving the capital city. Now, the capital city had always been Rome. That was where it was first founded by Romulus on those 7 hills. But he decided maybe there needs to be a different place, another place of great importance. And he decided to move the capital city from Rome to a place called Byzantium. Now, Byzantium is in Turkey, and it is across the water from Troy. So very close. There was this Bosporus Strait, so that is a small, straight span of water, and Troy had been located on the other side. And Romans truly believed that their ancestors came from Troy. If you remember, when Troy was burned to the ground, Aeneas escaped, and he traveled across the sea until he had come to the Italian peninsula. And so they thought this would be a place that could renew the spirit of Rome. And so Constantine brought the capital to Byzantium, and what he did was he thought there was something else special that he could bring there. Now, the legend says that back in Troy, a large wooden statue of Athena had fallen from the heavens right into the city of Troy. And the people of Troy thought that this statue brought them luck, brought them power, brought them safety. And so whoever had the statue, and wherever it was, would be a safe, strong place to be. Now, after Troy had fallen, eventually the people of Rome had found this statue and brought it to Rome itself. And they buried it to keep it safe and to keep Rome safe. Now, Constantine had that statue dug up and brought over to Byzantium, and he buried it again to keep that city safe. And he felt that this was looking forward to more power and safety for all of Rome, and a resurgence in how wonderful Rome could be. Now, over his reign of 31 years, Rome continued to decline. Now, the thing that he did do was he brought these Christians that safety and that freedom to practice. And in the end, at the very end of his life, he decided that he would be a Christian too. And so he was baptized shortly before he died, and he became a Christian right at the end of his life. Now, Constantine died in 337, and the people decided to rename this city from Byzantium to Constantinople. That was named after Constantine himself. Now, it's not called Constantinople today. Later, other people decided to change the name to Istanbul, and that is what it is today. And that is the end of our story.